Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with the boys, PD and Kyle. Say what's up, gents.
What up?
Ready to rock.
Hey, once again, continuing our Superman coverage, we are talking about the man himself, the only one, the one who could be Superman. Henry Cavill has announced that he will be playing the role, and he will be playing it for quite a long time. Of course, on this show, we've had numerous debates and discussions about this, whether Henry Cavill will become Superman. And here, our friend Kyle would finally give his mea culpa and apologizing as he admits that, yes, the good guy was right. Kyle?
Yeah, you were right. Yeah, you were right.
Okay, we move on from there. So what do we think about this whole thing, him jumping in, actually doing the role? How do you think we're going to take
I forgot to say, you were right, but you were right in like a broken clock sense.
Wow.
You know, I didn't want to labor it. I was gonna let it go and just let it.
So you were right, but you got that broken clock thing going on. That's okay. So that's how it is. You held out long enough. You held out long enough where the tide turned your way. So you were wrong until you were right. But at the end of the day, you were right. Okay.
Broken clock. Well, at least you were saying it was never going to happen. So broken clock or not, I was definitely right.
And it never was going to happen, and it never came. Who would have thought?
Don't
worry, we'll get it. Don't worry, we'll get into it. So
Cavill is back, and I mean, not only is he back, we saw him in the Black Adam. He's dropped out of The Witcher just to focus on the Henry Cavill show now. Okay, I mean, what does this mean for DC? What does this mean for the Superman verse? Or the Cavill verse, as we should start calling it.
Oh my God!
Now he has plans that he plans.
Oh, okay, you can't, dude. You can't do stuff like that, man. You got these guys out there; they're rabid. You can't do that, man. Okay, and again, it's not supposed to be about Henry Cavill. It's supposed to be about Superman. That's where this is supposed to be at the end of the day. So if we're not gonna get that, then hey,
it's all about Henry Cavill. He's fought the war. He's fought the war. He lost battles along the way, but he's ended up winning. So now he is Superman. What's Henry Cavill's name, my friend? Superman. Okay. Who's Superman? Henry Cavill. So let's.
All right. Is this going to be an all ego-driven episode?
I didn't want it to go, but he had to go talk about the broken clock. Okay.
So no, it was a reaction to your reaction, right? Because
there was no reaction to me. Okay, the good guy doesn't do stuff
right?
like that. The good guy doesn't do stuff
like that.
He was
wrong. He said it was wrong. That's enough.
Okay. But he shouldn't have said the broken clock. So, Petey, what do you think? What's your take on this whole thing?
I would just say, ultimately,
it's a good thing, right? That's what I'm saying.
It's a good thing. I think the problem is that they never really had with Zack Snyder. He had other plans, and he was getting to the stuff he wanted to do, which was slipping in as much Dark Knight as he could. I mean, the idea of doing a Batman Deathstroke sounds like fun, but it's all these other things outside of what Cal said way back when was they just needed to do a Superman movie. They didn't want to do it. So they wanted to do the stuff that, let's do the death. We sideline him, and then we get on all this other stuff. We get to do our dark Superman in Justice League 2, where he's the devil or whatever he is. I guess this is what this picture is that they put up is from that thing, but the dark costume. But I mean, the plans were wacky, and it also gave them a Superman that's in a different sort of costume than what Zack Snyder was doing. And now Superman at least has a chance to just do regular sort of stories. Whether, it hits the mark or not, it doesn't have to be marred in this whole Justice League Dark Side thing, which I think they did in the animated series, but they at least did it in a fun way, which wasn't like like we destroyed Earth type of thing forever. It was a brief thing that happened and it was repaired. Everything was repaired afterwards. So, this is a good thing. Henry Cavill, as far as the interaction with the fans, they try to have that same sort of note that it's kind of hard to compete with what George Reeves and Kirk Aaron and obviously Christopher Reeve they would bring to the public. And Henry Cavill, as far as outside of what they did in the story, was trying to give that to the fans, and in his tweets and Instagram posts, giving you that stuff which we didn't get to see in the actual story, and also try to do some stuff where he brought in a director to them. So he's been trying to do something, but they were like, nah, we're kind of moving on. Justice League isn't working, so we're kind of nixing Darkseid and Superman, and then now we got Superman back. However, we got him back. We got him back, and hopefully another regime change doesn't happen until before all this starts to go away. So,
I mean, this seems to be a really good thing because he's already said he wants to do a Superman version of Superman that inspires the fans, right? And there's some great stories out there, stories that you guys would all want to see. You know, Kingdom Come, Red Super.
stop it! Stop! Good Lord, stop going with the events. We want to see Superman versus some classic villains, or Brainiac, or something like that.
That's a good story too.
Not the half of Brainiac they did in Superman 3. We want to see something done kind of right.
You know, I mean, I think Dan Jones, Cal once said there was some good story runs by Dan Jurgens, probably something from along those lines, something that inspires, makes Superman inspired. You know, of course, a team up movie with Batman will always help his numbers.
You already seen that? No,
stop. No, we haven't seen that. We said
what happened to Cal? What happened to Cal? I'm
just no. Once I get started, I'm gonna shut this whole thing down. So you go ahead. Go ahead, get it all out.
Team up thing. We already got a team up.
No, that was not the classic team up. A positive team up, like the team up we saw in the Batman animated adventures and stuff like that. Those type of team ups was a positive thing.
Even that had the tension. You're talking about going. The animated had more tension than what was going on in the run. So
they were good. They were good shows. They were well written, well done. And that's what I'm saying.
I think I gave you enough time.
Cavill coming back and inspiring.
I think I gave you enough time.
Right, but I'm saying
sound like you got anything to say.
Will increase the readership of the Superman comic. It will put him back in. I'm supporting you, Cal. It will put your favorite character back on the place. He probably won't be as big as Batman. That's without a doubt. But you know, he can probably be close.
Stop it. The thing of it is, I'm going to say this.
Well, let Cal say
Superman was bigger. No, we're talking about that. Superman was bigger when they did the Death of Superman. We just did an episode. Was way bigger than Batman. This post New 52 when they did the Court of Owls and they had Greg Capullo, who was already a hot artist.
Great run.
They had a hard artist with a hot writer, and it blew it up where there's nothing they can do else but Batman. Right? They did the Death in the Family. You know, and those two storylines pushed them over the edge. I think people would probably go to the terrible story Endgame with Batman, but ultimately those two things kind of propelled this. Where anyone that comes on, Tom King comes on there, big Batman story, sales are working. So it's just kind of everything was going to the good. But before that, you know, they were doing the events to keep Batman afloat. You know, because they were trying to do whatever Denny O'Neil was doing. They had to do the Death in the Family where they kill Robin. Then they started to do these events that were keeping it going. The Superman titles were just already kind of rolling, but they just wanted more of an edge, you know. Whereas, you know, Superman, what's the name? Batman, when Superman got engaged to Lois, Batman almost revealed himself to Vicky Vale. He almost revealed his identity. They had a whole comic issue, and the stores were going crazy, and then they chickened out of it. But we can't. This phenomenon that it is now, we have Batman '89 that blew it out the water, right? That had a big thing, and that's what kind of really propelled the initial thing. But comics-wise, it was initial buzz, but then it kind of died down. Then it was event. Superman had 4 movies. Before Batman had his one, from where Batman had the serial, but then we had the Superman TV show. So let's stop it.
I wasn't even born then. So why are we even talking about stuff like that? That's so old. We're talking about
who cares? You're talking about what was this Johnny Come Lately attitude towards comics does not work.
1989.
Johnny Come Lately, the historic.
People weren't even born then, bro.
And the only thing that matters is 1990. That there's some point that during the
this is another age, bro. This is another age. I can't
talk about the what's the name. Well, I'm just telling you what it was. I'm telling you what it was. You had Dark Knight,
dinosaur age, or the Paleozoic age.
Had Dark Knight sell well, and then the kids were coming in buying Dark Knight and more X-Men, right? That's what happened. You had
We are digressing. We are here talking about
you were
the
going into
crowning of
bringing up sales. That's
I'm
what you
saying
brought up.
we were just talking about the
You
crowning of
did you
Cavill
bring up
as the
sales?
Superman. That's what we're talking about. We're not going
Brought
into
up,
any of that other stuff.
you said Henry Cavill will be able to bring up the sales of the comic books and
Yes,
and
he
get and
will.
connect it to Batman.
He will.
Everything that I said related to the history of what the sales were, not what it was. The whole DC line was down, but Batman almost canceled. So whatever.
You know what? You know what? I told you about talking about the Batman can't line being canceled, right? We talked about this before. All right.
About what? What you don't only say that it was almost canceled?
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. That was old history, man. All right. Let's not go there. Cal, can you give us 1 or 2 words and tell us what you think?
Yeah, sure. Batman was
Briefly.
almost canceled, and if it wasn't for Superman, he would have been canceled because they kept crossing him over with Superman and World's Finest, so that allowed him to get more exposure with DC's top tier character. So when Batman needed help, Superman came, bailed them out, and still carrying all of DC on his shoulders. So it's only fair now that Superman can get a break while they need to do some retooling, and Batman carries him. But Superman was able to carry the whole DC line with like a handful of books. This guy's out. I mean, they're really pimping him right now. 12, 15 books. Like, come on. Superman did it with 5 or 6. Come on, Batman. You can do it. You can do it. In terms of Henry Cavill, however, I mean, this thing it went really fast. Let's say it was faster than the speeding bullet, if you will, because The Rock came out at SDCC and Henry Cavill was not in that movie. He was not in that movie. And the fact that it got as far as Variety with a rumor, it shows you, where the journalism is right now. So he wasn't in the movie, and then the audience booed him. And so he went over there like, come on, Henry, I need you to be in this movie. I got to stay good with the fans. He says, okay, I'll do it, but these guys don't want me to. He goes over their head because like, oh, these guys are going to be out anyway. I'm going to talk to the top dudes. Come on. I'm going to be over here shaping the DC universe. Let me put Henry in the movie. All right, Henry's in the movie, and he does some filming for Flashpoint. What happens? Oh, the movie comes out. No big, there's no big swell for Henry being in the movie, but he placated those really vocal guys who would troll him incessantly unless he got him in the movie. But it didn't necessarily reflect the numbers in terms of people coming out to that film. So that was one. But then The Rock and James Gunn, noticed a whole bunch of people were trying to claim as much of the DC universe as possible because they were thinking, hey, the two of us are going to be the people driving the DC universe. Only it's not the two of them. It's James Gunn and Sloan. Those are the two who are going to be driving it. And The Rock got left ass out, with the exception of Kandak. So he has all of Kandak. Okay, but that whole big thing about him fighting Superman, yeah, probably not gonna happen because we already had a BVS, and that was Batman versus Superman, not Black Adam versus Superman. Henry Cavill, however, has been sitting back, laying in the cut, and while he's still good with The Rock, he's like, well, look, I would love to work with you, but these guys are in charge, and I want to be Superman. And so he got his wish. And what's worse, he got his wish. He told Netflix, I gotta go. And the only reason why that series was going was because of him, because that was a series that was genuinely driven by the fact that he was there and the people liked him on it. And he told all of those guys, nah, I'm not coming back for season 4. We're gonna get a recasting. That's note to all the people in Black Panther. It's okay to recast. We're gonna recast the role of Gerald while he runs over here to go play Superman. Lastly, Henry Cavill was hired to be an evil Superman. That was Zack Snyder's vision from the start. So the fact that Henry Cavill now comes out and says, well, I'm going to do a more joyous, more happy Superman. I'm like, dude, you could have had a more joyous, more happy Superman in Man of Steel. You still let your father die and you still killed Zod. So it doesn't matter how much you smile or how much you wink. What is the story that you guys are going to be putting forward? Henry Cavill is not the director. Henry Cavill is not the writer. And when he says, hey, I hope that I get some input, these guys can tell him whatever they want and leave it on the cutting room floor. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you again. Won't get fooled again a third time. So anybody who's coming into this and doesn't have their eyes wide open, let me make it brass tacks for you. We've done this already. DC, or rather Warner Brothers, put all of their faith and trust in a director to shape their universe. That was Zack Snyder. Didn't work out too well for them. Now we got the same thing going again. Okay, these people are saying the sequel is going to be called Man of Steel 2. Okay, that should be telling enough. If Man of Steel sucked, why would you want to continue to use that particular name? Because they're playing to a fan base that's not going to turn out for them. So, hey, everybody got what they wanted, but anyone who knows how to do these things in terms of entertainment, in terms of writing, you don't give people what they want. You give them what they expect, but you don't give them what they want. Now they got exactly what they want. Why should they turn out to watch your movie? Exactly.
They're
So,
going to turn out because they're going to see Henry Cavill, who's going to do an inspiring Superman, which is going to improve sales and then for comics, and they're going to increase the amount of comic book sales. And then at the
and
end
if you
of that,
believe that,
you're going to say, "Damn it, he was right again. The good guy doesn't go wrong." You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't.
We're not at a stage where we know what's coming out. The movie obviously could be bad, it could be good, but the same thing we can't. I mean, ultimately, he's holding since he already has some properties that work in The Witcher, and he's doing other things. I think he could have a little more weight in this because he's coming in there to say like, all right, we're not going to just do another thing where we spend 2 hours trying to break apart the legacy of Superman, saying, hey, we don't believe this guy's a good guy. I think we've gotten past that. I think if they let Zack Snyder do his thing and he finally got to his Man of Steel 2, I don't know what it would have been, but it would have been terrible. So he's not really that strong a director. I think we said what.
Wait. This is not a slamming on Zack Snyder.
Why not? I think we said it in our. I think I said if we go back to our old episode, and it said in there.
I didn't agree with it
As
then.
a storyteller, he's not that strong. If he has a story that has a beginning, middle, end, he can tell it, right? He can tell 300. Watchmen, he can sort of tell that beginning, middle, and end. But at the same time, and now he's not even owning up to realize that they did the squid thing in the HBO story, and they're like, I should have done the squid now. So like he can't even stand on his own thing that he did. Where I thought
I don't think that has anything to do anything with
he had storylines that had beginning, middles, and ends, and he was able to follow that through. You take Batman versus Superman, and you put those together, and he tried to hodgepodge it. Man of Steel, he tried to take the original Superman and just like kind of turn it on his heels. Right? Come on, it's not that. That's the problem here. He's gone. I don't think James Gunn is the answer, but I think even though the weirdness he has done in the and what's that thing in the the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't as nutty as the stuff he's done in the DC universe. So it doesn't bode well looking at the stuff that he's done, but at the same time, you gotta hope for not being ultimately terrible. Can't hope for it being a Joker or something like that. But the Joker sold like hotcakes for him. So hopefully, with this whole the negotiation to finally get him back is enough to say, well, let me at least see this. The hard part is,
That's the thing, though. There really wasn't this in-depth negotiation to get him back. The leadership changed hands. The guys who didn't want him there, they're out. So the new leadership was like, hey, let's give it a go. There wasn't like there was this really the whole 5-year wait that they were talking about wasn't 5 years of look, we want Henry Cavill back, but he's got these demands and we've got these. No, those guys who were in charge, the Hamada, they didn't want him back. They were like, fine, no, we want to move on from the Snyder stuff. And then what happened? Hamada's time is over. They're like, all right, we got new people in charge. They're like, well, hey, can we get this guy back? Sure, do whatever you want.
But there's also the thing going back to what you said in one of our older episodes is that they just had to do a Superman movie. They didn't. That same team didn't want to, so it would be standard reason to be like, hey, do your evil Superman and trenchcoat Batman and all that stuff, all the Flashpoint stuff. But at the same time, once they didn't have to do that, Justice League didn't sell. Now we're not doing no Superman stuff. Like, why did they decide no Darkseid, no Superman? For what?
And what's the commonality? Hey, yeah, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, the thing of it
but we forget the fans are looking for him to come back, and there's a strong and vocal fan base. And then he's saying he's recognized the issues with the Snyder cut, right? And so he wants to change that. And you're basically saying, no, you're a stick in the mud, and you can't change anything. And he's like, no, I think I could do a more inspiring Superman and a story. He understands
the Snyder cut doesn't have a bad or terrible Superman. He's slowly outside of the big fight that when he comes back. He still goes and he's trying to figure out where the heroes are to go help him. he isn't as helpful as he is in the original cut, but at the same time, he's not a total bad guy. They just had the
Yeah, you got
flashback to be like,
you
oh,
got to you got to say that again. You have to say that again. In the theatrical cut, they make a point of having Superman save people, of having him be in tune with, oh, people need help. Snyder cut, no, he's just there for the fights. Okay, he's not doing some evil stuff necessarily, but I look at the part where Wonder Woman decides, I'm gonna cut off this dude's head, and he's just like, yeah, I'm cool. Cool with the whole thing. I'm like, the dude's already beaten. We don't got to do all that, do we? Yeah, but again, that was food for the guys who really wanted the Snyder stuff and they loved every instant of it. Now you're telling me, oh, it's so we got a few things going here, or at least three. One, you got back the guy that you wanted. Two, you like the stuff that he was in. The people who like the Snyder stuff, they weren't critical about it. They were fine with it. And then three, he's saying, well, no, we're going to take a departure from that, and we're going to show a happier, more happy warrior Superman. And I'm supposed to expect these guys are going to be on board with it. They liked the stuff that they got before. Why would they want something different? They want more.
well, I think one of the things with Man of Steel, and this is not a positive point from my end, that there's this idiot part where people say, well, Superman got the punch. But basically we saw stuff that was in Matrix Revolutions and Hancock, where you punch Superman moves and like you're standing next to a train, you get to feel the air passing by, that sort of stuff. And it's just like that really doesn't work in the Superman thing because, yes, in real life, someone moving that fast would have some effect on things, but this is what you escape because it's him doing the power of flight. All that stuff, outside of him in the first movie where he having them stand back because he's going to drill into the ground. Otherwise, or you want to have an effect to say, oh, here, as a nice gust of wind, maybe that, but they don't want to do a full, hey, if he goes like one, from 0 to like 100 degrees fast, 100 miles per hour fast, that would knock everybody over. Then he'd be like a public nuisance. So I think ultimately they really like the idea of him punching and hitting things and people hitting things and stuff exploding and having a very visual big fight. But it was just like it just was just too much.
They didn't want Superman. They wanted a violent anti-hero with an S on his chest, and they got it. And they loved it in spades. That's one of the reasons why these guys like that movie so much, because they were like, oh, Superman's he's this nice guy. He doesn't punch anybody. They go to Man of Steel and they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know Superman could be like this. Like, because that's not Superman.
But he's not the thing.
Of course why he's
I've come down on the movie as much as anybody. As Henry Cavill plays it, he's not just going in there just saying I'm going to kick somebody's ass. Outside of him having the ridiculous killing moment, ultimately these guys are kicking Metropolis and Smallville in the behind and just destroying the planet, and he's out there fighting against it. Ultimately, at the end, they added in a scene which they wanted, which was him killing, and it kind of gave an effect. But he really, actually, the way they were treating him was like an anti-hero. The way he was acting was, hey, I'm just here to help. And they were like, no, you're an alien. You're like trying to get all your X-Men stuff in there. And it's just like, he's playing it like, hey, I'm just here to help. And they're just like, no, you're bad. We don't trust you. Where did you come from? Hey, look, the other Kryptonians, they're destroying the planet. You're one of them, aren't you? So, you're guilty by association type of thing, where it's like, but I think the approach of the characters outside of him taking that truck and putting it on its heels and the telephone post type of thing, where that was kind of I guess throwback to Superman 2, the ending part of it. But I think the approach wasn't going too far as an anti-hero. They weren't going that far, but the way they were treating him was definitely like that. But yeah, I think that ultimately, go back to what you said, that they would just had a movie that they felt they had to do. They to try to turn it on its heels because it's still basically the story that was told in the first Superman movie, but with the timing jumped, and they did that terribly. But ultimately, when they had a chance not to do it, they were doing their best to sell you at the end that, hey, we're gonna have a Dark Superman in the Flash movie. We're gonna have Batman versus Deathstroke. Bang, we're there. So if that Justice League movie worked, that's what you would have gotten, and the Men of Steel would have been pushed back again and again because those guys ultimately clearly didn't want to do that sort of thing, even though they were going to bring him back at some point.
Mars.
I've heard all the crap that you've said. I mean,
Crap.
you said, and I think that we just have to give him a chance. I think that this guy may be the man, to put Superman back on the map. That would make.
He got a chance. He had a chance 3 times. He had a chance.
Well, regardless of what you
why
think,
should he?
He's now
why
back
should he
in
get another
again.
chance?
He's back in, and now he has ideas.
No, I'm speaking to your original point. Why should he get yet another chance? He had 3 chances already.
Because the people want him. The people call. The people say, "Bring him back." He has a vocal fan base who follow him to The Witcher, to follow him to
his vocal fan base. Are they going to turn out for this movie and drive the numbers? That's the question.
I think they're
not doing it. They're not doing it for Black Adam.
Because of him, all these Superman titles have gone on. They have the what is the current one? They have the Superman and Lois program they have on CW because of him.
That's because of him.
Because people want him back in the seat.
Because people want Henry Cavill. We got a Superman and Lois TV series on the CW.
Because people want to see Superman, and they want to be inspired.
No, they don't want to see Superman. They want to see Henry Cavill as Superman, and there's a big difference. If they wanted to see Superman, they would be happy with Superman coming out in the film. They have been driving for Henry Cavill to be Superman, and that's a very, very big difference. Okay, it's one of the reasons why I'm very skeptical about anything that comes down the pipe, because you have already given them what they wanted. They're getting exactly what they want, whether this is a good movie or not. And then you already have a lot of his fan base, his vocal fan base, as you've already said, who like the stuff that came before, even though critically and generally it's said that this is not really good stuff for Superman. They still like it. They want more. They want to see more of him. I mean, one of the things I hear from one guy is like, yeah, I didn't like Man of Steel, and I didn't like what happened, but I don't blame Henry Cavill, and I would love to see him play Superman as a happier guy. I'm like, well, wait a second here. You can't get rid of all that other stuff. That stuff is still there at the end of the day. It was the same thing they did with the theatrical cut and the Snyder cut. Oh, the Snyder cut is so much better. All the stuff you didn't like is still in the movie. Why is it better now? So that's the schizophrenia that you have to deal with. But in terms of numbers, hey, once you give people what they want, why do they need to turn out and watch this movie? The people you need to turn out to watch the movie are not the guys who want to see Henry Cavill. You need to turn out people who are going to be interested in this movie about Superman. Right? So you have a good fan base. That's good. That's fine. Okay. Hopefully that does something for you, but there's not enough of them, as loud as they are. They're a pretty small fraction of a fraction, and they don't determine how much money a movie is going to make. Because if that's the case, Man of Steel would have been $1 billion movie.
So, once again, we're all very excited for Henry Cavill coming back, crowning him the new and existing Superman. If you like what we've said, that we like Henry Cavill coming back, and of course, this movie will be a success, and the fans will come out and be happy to see him. Please give us a thumbs up, comments, subscribe. Spinnerack
out.
We're done? No, I got more.